I am in the American Southwest's Four Corners, a completely dry region with sweltering summers and freezing winters. Many have referred to it as a wasteland that is unsuitable for human habitation. Nonetheless, one of the most intricate, extensive, indigenous cultures in North America emerged from this terrain a millennium before the time of Christ. It would be more accurate to refer to them as Ancestral Puebloans, even though you may know them as the Anasazi. Their highly developed civilization outlasted the United States by a factor of 10. Actually, until the 1800s, these would have been the biggest buildings in North America. They were highly skilled in all fields, including astronomy, engineering, agriculture, and the arts. But they seem to have abruptly disappeared in the 1100s, long before European settlers arrived. It seems as though they just left everything they had created behind and walked away. How come this disappearance occurred? Depending on who you ask, yes. However, in my opinion, this is a tale about the desert itself. This harsh terrain still contains the best hints we have about the disappearance. And I'm here to find those hints, which means knowing the law of the desert, where water and food can be difficult to find, but death seems inevitable. Rainfall and snowmelt would have been necessary for farming. Desert agriculture was a specialty of the Ancestral Puebloans. With only 9 inches of rainfall per year, they were able to produce enough food for a city. In addition to building terraces and canal systems to divert and deliver water, they planted various crops, including corn, beans, and squash. There was a purpose behind every drop of moisture. However, providing food for the residents of Chaco Canyon would have been a continuous challenge due to its enormous population center. It would have been necessary for hunters to travel far and wide, and they most definitely visited this region of the Santa Fe National Forest. I'm hunting small game out here. An Aubert squirrel is a tasty animal that lives here, but I've stumbled upon something that the Ancestral Puebloans would have much more desired. The Ancestral Puebloan hunters would have been searching for this mule deer doe and her fawn. The mystery is only growing more complex from my vantage point. In the desert, the Ancestral Puebloans had mastered their methods for finding food, water, and shelter. Their accomplishments were comparable to those of any civilization. There isn't a clear-cut explanation for why they should have abruptly disappeared, as many claim. I feel like I'm missing something, and I can't get rid of it. In a local sense, what about? In other words, if you have a narrow perspective of Native America, you picture hunter-gatherer communities where everyone lives in tiny, shared communities. Indeed, there was a middle class and an elite class in this hierarchical society. Then there was this class of peasants who were farmers. This is where things start to get crazy. Archaeologists have repeatedly presented evidence of an elite Chaco lineage that was distinguished by a 6th toe, a rare trait. Some of their artwork even features a 6-toe motif. These 6-toed people, according to researchers, lived longer, lived better, and grew taller. To supply enough wood, wildlife, and water to cause rain, the priests most likely claimed to have direct communication with the gods. Naturally, the problem with that is that it only works if you can deliver the goods. In the 1100s, a drought also struck. Rainfall was impossible for the elites. Yes, the phrase drought is used, and we're referring to a few years of dry weather, correct? After all, most of us are only familiar with the Dust Bowl drought from contemporary American history, which lasted for roughly 6 or 7 years. It was an extreme drought. It appears to have lasted for roughly 30 years. Everything changed when Chaco Canyon was struck by this devastating drought. This was the biggest mega drought in human history for North America. Things can quickly fall apart when something as essential as water abruptly disappears. And I believe that in the end, this group of priests here was what the farming class found appealing. Fix it then, make it rain, and all bets are off if you are unable to deliver. In the end, something went wrong. Because of ecological overreach in a delicate area, likely, some members of this elite class did not survive. It was somewhat reminiscent of the French Revolution. Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI don't make it, you know. And that's what we believe most likely occurred, along with the drought that sparked the social crisis. Where did the residents of Chaco Canyon go if Dan's theory that the drought caused social unrest and forced them to leave is right? To find out more about the history of these ancient people, I would like to talk to Kenny Boakati, a Zuni historian and tribal elder. Rumors of seeing large gold cities in the American Southwest from a distance were first spread in 1527 by a lost and itinerant group of Spaniards, among them a man by the name of Cabeza de Vaca. The conquistador Coronado led a team of more than 1,000 men on an exploration expedition in 1540. They did not find gold when they got to Hawiku village, but they did find and take control of a flourishing trading center that was brimming with silver and turquoise. It is now thought that those fabled gold cities might have been far-off ancestral Puebloan ruins that glowed in the evening light. To find a prophesied location for the children of Mother Earth to live in forever, our people moved around. People began to settle in all regions of the Southwest as a result of the extensive search for this prophesied region, which stretched across the Rockies. The population of Mesa Verde and Chaco Canyon began to change. People were informed by this prophecy that they would no longer need to search once they located the area that was predicted. Our people were not required to be out there. As Hawiku began to expand after Zuni was established, a message was sent to the north, south, east, and west. Gather your belongings and return to your loved one's place. They returned home. They returned to the Hopi and then to the Santa Cristina. They simply relocated to their current location. In 2024, the Anasazi is still very much alive. I would have given a hazy response about an ancient people who once constructed magnificent structures before mysteriously disappearing if you had asked me a week ago what had happened to the ancestral Puebloans, also known as the Anasazi. I never really bothered to ask where until this trip. However, after spending some time researching the theories, the locations where they lived, and the circumstances surrounding them, I'm beginning to wonder if the solution to that mystery was always here. Although I'm not very knowledgeable, I'll be informed that there was a group of people. Correct. And they were gone. Well, no. We remain here. A pueblo is a group of people. Indeed. Additionally, there are currently 21 pueblos in this area. Indeed. It was never a disappearance at all, but I came here to try to answer the question of why people who flourished here simply vanished. It was a dispersal, a movement across the land. The ancestral Puebloans adapted rather than clinging to a single resource-depleted region, dispersing throughout the four corners and creating various hubs of activity while maintaining their unity as a people, united by cherished customs and oral histories that have been passed down through the generations.